Blessings to Africa. Blessings everywhere. Green vibes. Alaji, Sela. For Mother Nature.
So once again, my name is Tahila Piri. I'm the events coordinator for SOTAMBE. SOTAMBE has got two facets to it. We have the SOTAMBE Film Institute and then the SOTAMBE Film Festival. So interestingly enough, the Film Festival came before the Institute. So the Film Festival is basically kind of like what we've been discussing in the background, you know, just an opportunity to get for filmmakers to meet each other, get to know each other from different backgrounds, different locations. So SOTAMBE at the moment is mainly focused on the SADC region, but we are trying to expand our borders further. That's why even when we're having submissions for films, we have them from all over the world. We don't just restrict it to the SADC region. And then the SOTAMBE Film Institute is really a part of SOTAMBE that focuses on developing the youth and groups within Zambia. We're trying to expand it a bit further, but within Zambia to expose them more to the film industry and train them in the various aspects of film. So we're still in the phase of establishing it as a proper institute. So we're offering more and more courses in the different aspects of film, partnering with different organizations within Zambia and outside of Zambia. And that's why this MasterShare is one of the big things we also like to include in the festival part of it, because this is something that we're trying to explore on a deeper level and having it run more throughout the year in terms of having courses throughout the year. So that's really what we're about. SOTAMBE was started by Mrs. Martina Mwanza and Mr. Danny Mwale. They are the directors of the SOTAMBE Film Institute. So the Institute was started in 2014, but the festival itself was launched in 2012. So yeah, that's just a brief introduction.
Great. Now I'd like to thank our sponsors for this amazing time that they've given. Sorry about that. I'd like to thank our sponsors. We have the SOTAMBE Film Festival, have Film Freeway, we have Garden Court Kitwe, thanks to, of course, African film producers. And then we have the Rwanda Air, Paint Sip, and there you go. Great. Now, I think everyone is here to talk about film and and I'd like him to also a little bit and I really want you to continue and take it from there. Thank you so much, Professor Roger.
I missed what you said then. It went, I couldn't hear exactly. Say that again. And do you want me to start? Do you want me to give some background to myself?
Yes.
Okay, well, I've been working in film now for about 40 years. And I've had a number of roles in that period, either as a producer or a film fund head, and also as a film festival director. As a film fund head, I've been head of 2 regional film funds in the UK, but also head of production at the BFI, the British Film Institute, and Scottish Screen, which is in a sense, the Film Institute for Scotland, and then also for the UK Film Council, which had a decade's life in the UK financing films. And I've often had a strong regional interest. So I have worked in London, but I've mostly concentrated in my work working outside of London in places like Liverpool, where I'm from, the Beatles, etc. And then also Birmingham, UB40, they come from Birmingham. That's where I live and work now. My film festival, and I ran for 7 years, over 25 or more feature films. Many of them have won awards at different festivals like Sundance or Cannes or New York or Edinburgh, etc. And also involved with lots of short films. I've mainly concentrated on working with debut feature film directors and writers help to get their first film made, having to get into festival industry career. I've had in the last decade, I've been closely associated with universities, and the professorship that I've had was at a university near Liverpool, and that was in film and television. I met Olive, I mentioned Olive earlier. Olive was doing a master's degree in film distribution in Birmingham, and I was the course director of that. And I think Olive did that master's 5-6 years ago, but she sort of kept in touch with me over the years. I'm currently retired from being a professor, and I'm not really regularly producing, although I'm involved with a couple of filmmakers who I'm advising and I'm mentoring in that kind of capacity. But I do have a lot of thoughts and ideas about film festivals. I haven't been to Cannes or Berlin for a number of years. You know, we've been hit by COVID, but I used to go every year to Cannes and Berlin, Rotterdam, and Sundance, etc. I've always wanted to go to Ouagadougou in Africa. Never ever made it though.
we hope that all these restrictions will be lifted and you'll be able to do that.
Festival in Africa, is that right? Oh no, SOTAMBE festival is the best festival in Africa. Sorry, Ouagadougou is the second best festival after SOTAMBE.
Oh, yes, I didn't hear that one. Yes.
So what I was saying before was there is more festivals still relevant because changing patterns of the industry, the changing patterns of exhibition and distribution. You know, I mean, there is an argument sometimes by new and younger filmmakers that, you know, festivals like Cannes, Berlin, Venice, I mean, they're just for the affluent centers of film production, you know, and how do they help new entrants into the scene? You know, there is that. So then there is this other issue now about how the streamers
answer that question before you even move on, because are they still relevant? You could tell us that.
I mean, I still think they're relevant.
Yes.
I think they're relevant for a whole number of reasons. There are a number of reasons why you would go to a film festival. I mean, the first one is, you know, if you are fortunate to have your film selected for a strand in a festival. Yeah, as you know, most film festivals have different strands. You know, they might have their what we call the competition strand. So if I took, say, Berlin or Cannes as examples, they have the strand of major new movies which compete against each other for a prize, you know. So in Cannes, it's a Palme d'Or, in Berlin, it's the Golden Bear, etc. So, you know, if you get a film selected for one of those strands, you know that that's going to increase the potential box office for your film, because those films get written about and reviewed and critically summarized in all the film press around the world. But if you get into another strand, that's as good, because you are in a strand in a major festival, and you know that your film has been evaluated positively by your peers in industry.
Yes.
Now so festivals are useful for that one reason. You get selected. Secondly, you can go to a festival and you can put your film in the marketplace. Not all festivals have marketplaces, but the larger ones do. And if any, I mean, I don't know how many of you have been to Cannes or Berlin, but you'll know.
Quite a lot there.
Yeah, there's enormously thriving marketplace where you can present your film, present your company, present your team, producer, director, and you know that lots of distributors are there looking for new product. Lots of salespeople are there. Lots of reviewers are there. So even if you don't get into the even if you don't get selected, go to a festival anyway, because you can put yourself into the market. But the third reason to go to a festival is it's the heartbeat of the industry. It's where you can test the water for the industry. You know, it's a barometer of influence. You can see where the industry is going. And, you know, I remember the first time I went to film festivals, which would have been 1983 or 4. So that's like, you know, prehistoric days in a way, you know, because you're all a lot younger than me. So it was a long time ago. And I felt a real novice at the time, as you do. You know, I was, what, 25, 26 or something. And then as soon as you get into the festival discussions, you immediately absorb all that latest news about where the industry is going. So it's like it speeds up your the information that you can get about the industry internationally, because at some of the key festivals, you know that there are film people from every territory in the world. So it's and you just feel part of it.
Wow, what has changed? Like, before even I move on to the other questions, like from
those things in a sense haven't changed, because it's still, festivals are still that type of place. Now, you know, there has been this discussion around Cannes for the last 5 years about, you know, the French film industry doesn't like Netflix, doesn't like Amazon, because the French cinema owners don't want to feel that they are being cut out of the equation. The film is made, the film is exhibited, and there's a window when it goes onto TV or onto DVD, etc. And the streamers cut through all that crap, and, you know, will put their film out that they financed onto their platform as soon as they want, and they cut the cinema out. Now, many other festivals like London and Venice and Berlin, they're all happy now with the streamers, but there's still this debate going on with Cannes. Now, I think Cannes Film Festival will probably give in the end, and Netflix will be able to get their films into that festival. But there is, you know, I suppose this discussion is about how emerging filmmakers in your countries can benefit from festivals.
Professor Roger, you could tell us, what are the basic requirements for submitting and getting selected to film festivals? What are the basics, so that upcoming filmmakers can be able to do that?
A good film.
Of course. I mean, that's a good one.
Make a good film and do your research, because you know that there are film festivals happening every day of the year. As a film critic, I know somebody in the UK who went to a film festival every week for a year. He went to more than 50 festivals, because there were so many in the world. Now, somewhere in the notes that you sent me, or somebody sent me, they said, is there a summary of all the film festivals available? The only directory I've come across is actually one that is on Facebook somewhere. And after this meeting, I'll find it and send the link to you. The British,
we can share,
and then you can share it. The British Council used to produce a directory of all the festivals as well. I don't know whether they still do that now. The point I'm making about all the festivals, that if you get selected for, it's like marvelous business for your film. So that, and I'll come on to like a ranking order of those in a minute. But you know, there are festivals for every genre. So if you've been making comedy or horror or romance or action films or personal art house movies, there are festivals that you can submit to. So do your research and find the festival that would possibly most suit your film. Because, there's no point sending information about like a comedy film to a festival that is really like serious, somber films.
Yeah.
The other point is that there are a number of festivals around the world that annually have a focal point on new emerging films from Africa or from India or from Latin America. And those are festivals in either Europe or America that you can spotlight and maybe concentrate your efforts on. So there's research that the producer must do to work out where am I going to submit films to.
Great. That's
and the other
sorry.
Yeah, and the other thing is, it's a case of timing as well, because you might finish your film in one part of the year and then begin a festival strategy. So, but that festival strategy is then maybe in the next 3 months after the film's been finished.
And
then go on.
Sorry, no, sorry,
so,
I cut you off. You can continue.
So there's a question of timing about, the film, like your film's finished, and then you've got a window of 3 months to get it into film festivals. If there are festivals that you wanted to go to, but they're in another 9 months' time or a year's time, that may be too long a wait for you to maximize on the publicity surrounding finishing the film. So there's issues like that. Different festivals have different submission criteria. So you need to sort of pay attention. Sometimes they'll ask for, I don't know, some, the script to be translated, various other materials that they might want from you, submission materials. So just pay attention to exactly what they're asking, because they may not bother with you if you don't fulfill them. But here's a note of warning.
Yes.
There are a number of festivals I've noticed around the world, and what they do is they encourage people to submit, and you have to pay £50, £75 or something. And then they have dozens and dozens of awards and awards evening. So basically it's a scam. They're just encouraging lots and lots and lots.
Oh.
There was a big article supported by Freeway, I think, last year, that pointed out this issue. I'm not saying all festivals are like that, but there are some, and you just have to be careful of that. Yeah.
And what can filmmakers prepare to ensure that they are considered for this festival?
Well, get a good bio done of everybody involved. So that's the producer, director, the key cast, the key technical people, key camera, key edit, etc. Have some good background, production stills, photographs of the key people involved as well. So you've got a good portfolio of the work. It's always good as well to have maybe some preliminary writing about the film. So if you've had a cast and crew screening, which isn't an official, event, because that's the other thing you have to watch sometimes, is that if you've had some like a premiere in your home territory, how does that affect a festival that wants a world premiere? So just you have to watch things like that as well.
Wow, thank you so much for that. So why should filmmakers consider film festivals for their films as opposed to selling directly to other platforms such as theaters or VOD?
Okay, there's a number of reasons why you might want to go to a festival. The first is that it can build a number of networks for you as a filmmaker.
True.
So if you get, like before I was saying, you might go with a film to a festival because it's been selected, or you might go because you're taking it into a market situation, or you might go because you want to be, feel part of the big industry.
True.
So those are all three reasons why you would go to a festival. It's really about industry knowledge, industry profiling, personal fulfillment. If you go straight to a distributor or VOD or to a streamer, you're missing out on one of the key means by which you create a profile for yourself as a filmmaker within an international context. Also, many festivals, if they like your work, they will pay your travel and accommodation and get you to their festival. What's not to like?
Exactly.
So and the other reason why festivals are also good is that it helps you understand yourself as a filmmaker.
Yeah.
Because you get responses and feedback from people about your film, and it amplifies the footprint that your film can have, because you get responses from, every big festival. I'll come on to ranking now a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, we've got most of the big festivals in a sense are unfortunately all in Europe. Cannes, Berlin, Venice, Rotterdam, London. Okay, I think that's it would be great to reverse that, because it's a little bit over Europeanized, but that's how it works out at the moment. And there is this notion of A-list festivals. Now, there are a number of festivals now beginning to eat away at those rankings, and that's Toronto, Sundance, Sarajevo, etc. Now, Toronto is a great festival for non-European movies as well. It's got a great reputation for that. The festival director at Toronto is a Canadian black guy, Cameron Bailey. And, there's a sort of strong push now to try to reverse the situation so that there's more diversity within the festival selection and programming, etc. But at the moment, ranking, getting a film into Cannes is considered to be, the top of the tree. But Cannes is a very different festival than Berlin. Cannes is in the middle of the European summer in May. It's by the coast. And everybody, I don't know whether people on this group have been to Cannes, but anyway, it's a fantastic thing to get to. Berlin's a bit different. Berlin's more a cinephiliac festival. It's a little bit, Hollywood goes to Cannes, but the kind of exciting and, festival filmmakers who are doing something a bit darker and maybe a bit more risky tend to get exhibited at Berlin. Now that might reflect what it used to be like in Berlin, where you had East Berlin and the Cold War, and directors would go there expecting to kind of get a buzz off the sort of climate there. But Berlin's still got that kind of risky, edgy, dark tone about it, whereas Cannes has got the beach, the sun, the sea, and Hollywood glamour. It's a little bit over the top for me. I prefer Berlin to Cannes. I've not been to Venice. I can't really comment on that, but Venice and Toronto have just had their program. I've been to Toronto a couple of times. That is a fantastic festival. In fact, I think it might be my favorite because it's really attended by all the local people. It's so you go to a movie and you're sitting in the movie with many people that live in Toronto. When you go to Cannes or Berlin, everybody in the cinema is another industry person. So you do get a kind of a feel of how an audience might react to a film when you're in Toronto. Sundance is great. So these are the major ones in Europe and America. And then London's a great, London Film Fest is about to start now in 2 weeks' time. And the good thing about festivals now is, like this experience we're having, is they have events and you can zoom into them. So before, the only way that maybe you get to be in an audience with a big director, producer, or a key film person was you'd have to get on a plane, go to that festival so you could listen to them. Now, all the London Film Festival events will be online, will be on Zoom. So you can pick up lots of information from the discussions that they're having. And you might see my daughter because she's a volunteer on the London Film Festival. So you might see her in the audience.
That's good. That's good. Now let's talk about strategy. Should Filter have a film festival strategy as their film?
Yeah. Yeah, they should. They should have a strategy. They should have a strategy. And coming back to what I said before, the strategy has got to be informed by researching where you think you would like to position your film. What's the best festival to position your film, and that's determined by the type of festival, the genre of the festival, the timing of that festival. Is that festival going to have industry people there, like sales people or distributors who might have a commercial interest in your film? Does that festival have a reputation of supporting films from Africa? It's it's things like that. Now, I think film festivals in Europe. I mean, obviously, I can't comment on festivals in India or the Far East or Australia or New Zealand or those parts of it, and I can't comment on African festivals either. I can only really comment on how Europe works, and to a certain extent North America. But a producer needs a strategy, and that strategy has to take into account: do I get a sales agent? Can I get a distributor before I go to festivals? Or the good thing about sales agents is two things really. As a producer, you might have a lot of films in development or being made, and selling a film, getting a notice is a big job. The sales agent does that for the producer. So sales agent takes a lot of the burden of creative and financial labor off your shoulders, and the sales agent will take a percentage from you. Now, exactly what that is now, I don't know, because I haven't been involved in negotiations like that for maybe now 5-6 years. But they do that, and what they do is they help prepare the press kit to take with you. They help to put the film into screenings in the festival, in the marketplace, and they help to book a meeting with distributors. So they do all that. That's a lot of logistics. But the second thing they do is they prepare for you what are called sales figures. So they look at your film and they give you an indication based on a number of criteria. And that criteria is: what is the background of the director? What is the background of the producer? What is the background of the key actors and performers in the film? And how is the genre of your film performed in different territories? And they give you an assessment of how they think your film if picked up by distributors in all the territories, will perform in those territories, and it gives you a sense of the potential commercial value of your film. Now, that doesn't mean that you are going to get into all of those territories, because because you've got to get distributors for all those different territories, and if you don't get the sales. But if you do, you get this gives you benchmark. The sales agent gives you benchmarks against which you can consider the performance of your film. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. Then go to the categories of film festival. You can just expound a little bit more about that.
On the categories, yeah. I mean, so festivals. I mean, festivals have a certain sort of ranking within the industry, and as I've mentioned, you know, the A-list is considered to be Cannes, Berlin, Venice, Toronto, whereby you have maybe up to 100 new films presented in their particular strands at their festivals. And of course, you know, if a movie's been in Cannes, it won't go to Berlin, it won't go to Toronto or Venice, because festivals all want world premieres. And you know, and that's the nature of a festival, is the presentation of debut screenings. The festivals, they'll have, you know, they're not genre driven, they're driven by taste, by their festival director and the juries that they've got. Now, I mean, have you been to any of these festivals, Christine?
I've been to the African festivals,
yeah.
So I
they'll be similar in character.
Yes.
I mean, that's I mean, on another occasion, I'd love to hear about your African festivals and how they compare. That's another session.
No, but yeah, you have a lot of experience in terms of festivals, and also, you know, just to let a new producer know, where's the first place that they can be able to go to? What would you advise?
Well, I think this, I mean, I would say within those festivals I've mentioned, you know, the A-list, they all have, and this is your homework, whoever's listening, your homework is look at the information that's available online from those festivals, because they all have strands which are about new talent, new debut, new emerging filmmakers. I think the one in Berlin is called Panorama, and the one in Cannes is called Un Certain Regard. So, as well as these major strands where, you know, you get your Spielbergs and your Scorseses presented, they have other strands which are looking at, which are presenting debut feature filmmakers. And I mean, maybe you can find out which of these big festivals, who is responsible for visiting African countries to make selections for these strands. I mean, is it your film agencies? Is it your film institutes? Because, you know, to get a debut film by a debut producer and director from an African country into Toronto or Berlin, or they'll obviously be sent now by, you know, by a file or something. But somebody has to say, look at this film. This is a great film by this new female director or young male director or whatever from this country. And they make those decisions from that festival. And then there's another lower ranking group of festivals like Rotterdam, Turin, there's a major festival in the UK, the Sheffield Documentary Film Festival. That's one of the best documentary films. But there'll be other festivals that will have a particular liking for non-European film, and will go out of their way. Rotterdam is one of those festivals. Rotterdam is a great festival, and it often will concentrate on countries and continents that are underexplored in the international film marketplace. I think the producer of a debut movie should look into, how can I get my film looked at by the people selecting for the festivals beyond your African festivals. There'll be somebody whose job it is to look at them and choose. But when they come and choose, who puts the films in front of them? Nigeria, we think you should look at these dozen films to make your choice. Who does that? Is it the Nigerian Film Institute? I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's a lot of film producers have cold feet, I think, and sometimes they don't present themselves for these festivals. I mean, would you say that it is worth it for a filmmaker to present themselves when especially an independent filmmaker to go to a festival?
Yeah, I would. But with the caveat, it can be, it requires spending money on certain things. But I think the benefits come later on. I mean, to build a reputation, you have to put yourself forward.
True.
Now, I'm up to just after 5 o'clock, and I have to finish in 5 minutes or so.
Great.
Is that okay?
One more, that's fine. There's Josh Omondi who has a question. Let me take that question quickly. In the meantime, as he's been unmuted, how can a filmmaker win at self-distribution?
Hello?
Professor.
Self-distribution.
Yes.
You can win first, but you won't do it again. By that I mean that
Right.
that you can take your film to cinemas, or you can send it, a file, etc. But it can take up all your time, and you want to make another film.
True.
So
we'll take a quick question
to finish on that. It is a particular skill, distributing a film. There's lots of different sort of expertise involved in it, creative, financial, social, and it's best to pass that on to somebody else and then benefit from it later on. But you do it once, but I doubt people do it second and third time.
Oh, Professor Roger, you have so much knowledge, and I think that just this 1 hour was not enough.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I thought it was an hour, and I've got other things that I've got to do.
I know. No, I think we'll host you again. Guys, if you have any questions, please write them down. I think we'll be able to forward it. Do you mind just sending us, writing down your email address somewhere where people can contact you? I don't know if you can just take 2 questions before you leave.
Okay, let me just
please unmute yourself and ask your question quickly before he leaves.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Yeah, thank you so much for hosting this talk. I know your time is little. Mr. Shannon, I just wanted to ask about offering a festival.
Yes, we can hear.
Hello. yeah, there are various companies that have been offering festival strategies as a service. Meaning you pay a certain amount and they kind of help you. They assess your film, they watch it, and then they advise you to go to this film or film festival or the other. I just wanted to get your take on that. Also, if you could point out the most receptive festival for emerging African film festivals, according to you. Emerging African filmmakers.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think I'll do the second one first. I mean, festivals outside of Africa, I would say, you know, I think London is a good festival that welcomes African filmmakers, and I think Rotterdam as well. But I mean, if there's a what we say a shit hot great new African movie, then I think some of these bigger festivals that I mentioned would be interested. But I think sometimes it's best to be in a festival that's not an enormous one where there's hundreds and hundreds of films, because your film gets overlooked. Sometimes you can build a reputation in a smaller festival where there's more time for people to kind of come and talk to you and pay attention to your film, especially if it's a new film. So there's sort of strategies around things like that are important to bear in mind. I mean, agencies that give you advice about no, I've never dealt with agencies like that. I've usually developed my own sense of what to do. And I'm always reluctant to give people money for things that I ought to know myself, if you know what I mean. So that's what I would say on that. You know, I mean, it may be great.
Can I quickly just drop a question?
Yes, you can shoot quickly. He has a minute now.
I've got a couple of minutes. Yeah, is this all?
Thank you, Professor Roger. Thank you very much for the wonderful interaction. My name is Musi. I'm a filmmaker. I'm based in Bamenda, Cameroon, and yeah, I'm the head of the Producers Guild in my country, and I'm so overwhelmed and concerned with the different ideas that we have gathered from the discussion we've had today. I'm to find out, when you talk of some discussion to start with some of those festivals in trying to find out how films can be sent into those festivals, like the Cannes, like Rotterdam, and like Toronto, I'm asking, can it be a possibility that we start talking as African filmmakers through platforms like the African Film Producers Association, which we already think it's a big network that is bringing together many filmmakers across Africa. Can we start a discussion where we can see how we can get this African films having to talk with me? Because
I mean, I think the ability to get those festivals knowing about the different films coming from the different African countries, but you've got strength in depth in a way. You've got strength across different countries. I mean, would it be possible for film agencies directly invite some of the people from these festivals that are in a position to select and program films from Africa? I mean, make contact in that way. I don't know. That's, you know, just
That's a good question.
I'm going to have to love you and leave you.
Professor, thank you so much for your time. I mean, I think we can go on and on and on because you have so much information, you have so much experience, and there's so many producers who I'm seeing who are here who have all questions for their films.
My email is in the chat.
Yes, please email him, ask him anything to ask. But I think we will definitely have him for another episode of MasterShare. And please come prepared, ask your questions. I think it'll be an open platform for you to ask questions.
Okay, we'll do. And I hope to maybe get to the SOTAMBE Film Festival at some point.
Yes, now you need to add some African film festivals in your experience as well.
Yes, exactly.
So you can mention them.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know you may go on a bit. I mean, you may have more time, but I had an hour slot down, so I hope
we understand. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, Christina, for hosting it, and Nabila, and everybody else. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Invite me again.
Thank you. Glad you'll be back out after.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
Roger. Thank you.
Everyone,
After party.
Nabila, you can
After party.
After
party.
Okay, after party.
Blessings to Africa. Yes, blessings everywhere. Green vibes.